In the deepest, darkest stretches of a 19th century New England winter, some rural families allegedly practiced a dark tradition. They would take their elderly relatives, freeze them solid, stack them outside in boxes like firewood, and simply thaw them out when spring arrived. To understand how anyone could even invent such a story, you have to picture the punishing reality of a Vermont winter in the 1800s. Families were snowed in to isolated, uninsulated cabins at the mercy of sub-zero temperatures for months. By January, whatever autumn harvest a family managed to scrape together would dwindle. Survival became a grueling mathematical problem of calories versus time. Every mouth to feed drained the meager root cellar a little faster, which forced a terrifying question. When rations dropped below survival levels, how could a poverty-stricken family justify giving precious food to aging relatives who could no longer work the farm while the youngest generation starved? That severe environmental pressure turned a biological impossibility into a logical fantasy. If you could somehow put your grandparents on ice to conserve resources, you could guarantee the whole family's survival until the spring thaw. That desperate fantasy made its way into print on December 21, 1887. The Montpelier Argus and Patriot published a piece titled A Strange Tale, presenting a first-hand diary entry detailing this exact ritual. The diary describes a local family gathering around their frail elders in the dead of winter. According to the text, they drugged the elderly into insensibility, stripped them down to a single undergarment, and calmly declared them ready. The unconscious bodies were carried out into the sub-zero air and laid on logs until they froze entirely solid. Next, the family packed them into straw-lined wooden boxes and nailed the lid shut, leaving the makeshift coffins at the base of a cliff to keep them safe from hungry mountain animals. What makes the text so chilling is the sheer, indifferent pragmatism of the family. The narrator watches a mass freezing taking place right in front of him, yet the relatives treat it with the same casual routine as curing meat or storing root vegetables. The diary then jumps forward to May 10th. The community heads back out to the base of the cliff, shoveling through 20-foot snowdrifts to unearth the wooden boxes they had buried months earlier. They pulled the lifeless bodies from the straw and laid them into large troughs hollowed out of hemlock logs. Then they poured in boiling water steeped so heavily with hemlock boughs that the liquid turned the color of deep wine. After an hour in the hot herbal bath, color flushed back into the frozen skin. With a bit of aggressive rubbing from the family, muscles twitched, lungs gasped for air. A few drops of strong spirits were trickled down their throats, and the elderly sat up, fully conscious and completely refreshed. The revival functioned as a piece of cold agricultural logistics. The family needed the extra hands back on their feet, exactly in time for the spring corn planting. But the diary entry was entirely fake. It was a piece of creative fiction written by a local Vermont farmer and storyteller named Alan Morse, who simply wanted to spin a good yarn. Morse's daughter submitted his horror story to the local paper, and it completely escaped his control. Readers missed the joke, and the tale mutated into a deeply entrenched urban legend that circulated as absolute fact for over 60 years. The myth became so widely accepted that it eventually caught the attention of genuine scientists. In 1939, a Philadelphia physician named Dr. Temple S. Fay stood in front of an audience and presented the Vermont deep freeze as a true medical marvel. Dr. Fay had been conducting his own experiments on freezing human organs and needed historical precedent to back up his theories. So he cited the tall tale in a legitimate medical presentation, elevating local folklore into scientific fact. A well-crafted narrative tapping into real cultural anxieties, like that legendary Vermont frugality, can easily override logic, fooling even the most educated experts. Modern science tells a very different story. Today, we have multi-million-dollar cryonics facilities freezing the bodies of wealthy clients, hoping to thaw them out in a more advanced future. But those facilities face a severe biological barrier. You can think of human cells as microscopic water balloons. When a human body freezes, the water inside those cells turns into sharp, expanding ice crystals that puncture the outer cell membrane. Once that membrane is torn open, the damage is completely irreversible. Right now, modern science has absolutely no way to repair that widespread cellular destruction, let alone revive a frozen human being. The legend likely survived because it captures a deeply appealing fantasy, the idea of simply sleeping through the hard times until the sun comes out again. We still dream of outsmarting winter, aging, and death itself. If science ever did find a way to repair the cellular damage and safely hit pause on a human life, would you choose to freeze yourself to skip the darkest, coldest chapters of your own story?